How's it going, everybody? This is Will Robson here. You can check out my work at facebook.com/RobsonINK to see what I'm working on, or you can go to my DeviantArt, which is RobsonINK.deviantart.com. So today I just decided to record my screen as I was doing a little Ghost Rider sketch. I was just doing a quick reminder of how to draw a skull, and then I started, every time you draw a skull you end up drawing Ghost Rider, and I thought, why not turn it into a full sketch. Now usually my sketches I'd like to keep in an hour, but this one ended up taking 2 hours because I've never drawn Ghost Rider before and I got a bit carried away. So here I'm just doing my basic figure work. I should have not put so much detail into the figure work because now it looks extremely sloppy and there's many errors with the pose that I have him in. So if I could give any advice, is don't do what I just did and get carried away with your figure. And now I'm adding pencils. This is all in Manga Studio 4, by the way, 4EX or EX4. And everyone always complains about the pencils, but I think that to me they're the most, they feel the most like a mechanical or a traditional pencil. And if you, sometimes people say it looks a bit checkered when you do it, it doesn't look good. If you just make a coloured layer and draw with it, everything's absolutely fine. So that back leg there is way too small. I was trying to put it in a real force perspective, but it didn't really work out well. And I'm also not happy with the way his face came out. Again, I've never drawn Ghost Rider before, and you basically just got to draw a skull that looks really evil. And see, I'm moving his head around now, I'm not too sure on it. So the Ghost Rider that I'm following is, I guess I consider the real classic Ghost Rider, where he sort of has like the grey trousers and the leather jacket. I don't like him with full leather. And I really wanted to try and stick his chain, like he's sort of going with his hand and using like the force, I suppose, to shoot it forward. But if you see the chain there, it actually looks, I think, much better than the final piece, that foreground chain. I ended up thinking, I think I do it right here, yeah, I ended up thinking that a chain like breaks links there, which doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so now I've sort of just converted the pencils to blue and lowered the opacity, and now I'm inking. And this is with a Frienden brush, and you can download those brushes. They're really good. They cost you like $5, but they're the best brushes I think you can get for what you for inking digitally. So now I'm just adding some quick rendering there. I know, I mean, my good friend of mine, John Rector, he pretty much puts all of his basic lines down first and then does all the rendering last. But I kind of like to do everything at once because it sort of keeps me occupied and makes me doesn't give up on the drawing, because there's lots of stuff you don't want to draw in this drawing, like the chains and all the spikes and stuff. So I sort of do a nice balance of, okay, I'll draw the boring stuff and then I'll draw the cool stuff, which is the rendering. So the lighting obviously is coming from his head, which I should have made more drastic on his body, because and I mess up this right here. I don't know why I just made this sort of solid black with lines missing. I should have made that with the light more. And I find the easiest thing, what I'm doing here is feathering or rendering, and essentially those little lines, they wrap around the form of the object that I'm trying to draw. So if you were drawing like a 3D sort of sphere or cone or anything, you draw little lines wrapping around it to obviously teach your eye that that is a form in that perspective. And essentially that's the same exact thing you do with rendering. You just make it sort of, you always go from light to thick lines. You never go from thick to light lines, because you should be pulling those render lines into the shadow. And this is something I've only learned maybe in the past couple weeks. And obviously it adds a whole lot of, I don't know what the word I'm thinking of, it just looks freaking cool, basically. And also, I recently, it's so ridiculous, but I recently learned how to do line weights. I didn't even think about line weights before. And obviously it will be, the line weights will be thicker on further away from the light source and thinner towards the light source. You should always try and do, if you look at anybody's art, like Jim Lee or Greg Capullo or any of your favourite comic book artists, they always have a nice thin to thick taper around their objects, and that really sort of brings it solidifies your objects. I'm not happy with the folds on his jacket. They should have wrapped more around the form of his torso, because they look a bit flat here. But again, this was supposed to be just a sketch. It ended up taking 2 hours, but that's how it goes sometimes. So here I'm just adding some silly little rendering on his teeth and stuff. I was trying to add some more lines on his face, but I didn't want to get too carried away. See, there you go, what I'm talking about is thin to thick, and his leg has thicker lines there, because it's further away from the shadow, and it's sort of further away from the focal point. which is obviously his face or the chain in the foreground. This is just an example of terrible rendering, which you can see me erasing there. And even the end result of this leg rendering is pretty bad. I should have just added more sort of solid blacks in there, but I'm trying to do a good balance between sort of the cross-hatching rendering and the sort of feather rendering, because that to me is like John Byrne and John Buscema and stuff like that. That's sort of the level I want to get to. So this is why I do things like this, because this is all practice, so that I don't do all my experimentation in my client work. Otherwise my client work just looks like a big ball of experimentation. So here the light is obviously coming from his head, so I was trying to make it look like it was. I didn't really succeed there, but sometimes if you're not sure and you just start rendering something out, you can get away with it. It's not recommended you do, but you can get away with a lot of stuff. This is what I found really annoying, was all these bloody spikes on his arms. It took ages, and this is why you need to practice forms. You can draw these cones in any shape, so that you're comfortable with just chucking in stuff there. Because this is, I mean, drawing's all about convincing whoever's looking at your art that this is a 3D object occupying space, and the way you do that is with, you know, line weights and a good sense of form. And you can learn how I sort of, my whole process of drawing by watching my other videos, which is how to draw comics the Robson way, which is going to be a huge series on me drawing pretty much everything you need to know about comics, which I'll be doing over the next, hopefully, it's probably going to be a year while I'm working. I'm going to try and do a video every single month, because I see a lot of people talking about, oh, I read all these books and I still haven't learned anything. And I know sometimes you just need sort of someone talking you through it. So that's what I'm going to try and do. So here you can see I haven't put too much detail into these chains. They're a bit loose. And this, oh god, this front chain took ages. You can see I have a broken chain link there, which doesn't make any sense. And I was trying to render it out, but it looks like I was rendering out fish sticks or something like that. So, you know, they look like chubby chains, where chains should look obviously industrial. And then I was adding some line weights there, which are, you know, on the thicker line is on the opposite side of the light source, which is his head. And I recently just started using a brush as well. Before I was using the Kaburo brush, which is more like a felt tip marker, because I wasn't confident enough in using a brush. But you just got to sort of practice as much as possible with the tools you know you need to use, and then you'll get better at it. Because, I mean, my work looks tremendously better than it did before, just using a brush. And none of this rendering makes sense, and this chain doesn't look very good in the foreground. You can see it's a bit wobbly, but again, this is, I think at one point I just give up because I realised this is a sketch, it doesn't need to be perfect, which probably comes up soon. I'm trying to make a thicker line on the opposite side there, and here's that really weeny little leg in the background, and see his foot there, it means he would have a massive calf. And I was trying to add some cool spotlighting, which I did with another sketch of mine, but it didn't really work with this. It sort of took away from the focal point of Ghost Rider, so I got rid of all of that. Added a few more sort of form lines over there. Added a bit more to his face, because I just wanted him, you know, his face to look with really thin lines, so it just looked like there was extra detail there that there really isn't. And I put way too much. You shouldn't really put as many line weights as I did on fire, because fire is an element, but yeah. That's what I did, and there's me. That's my new signature, so I'm still getting used to writing that. So there is my Ghost Rider pin-up sort of sketch thing, and thanks for watching. Again, you can check out my work at facebook.com/RobsonINK. Okay, bye.